Transformers family, welcome back to George Reviews. Man, this one is long overdue. I got this thing in the mail, I think January 16th. I sat down and reviewed it a couple times. I shot an intro and everything, but I never finished it. Wound up losing the intro, so here we go again. This is Transformers 1984 to 2024. Yes, the 40th anniversary. Do you feel, oh yeah. Soundwave. For Soundwave and Blaster, they've changed the packaging back to the more retro packaging. They've gone back to the window. We can see the toy within. We have 40 years, 1984 to 2004 Transformers more than meets the eye right here at the top. We have an updated image of the vintage artwork of Soundwave done in the cartoon deco. They've changed the door, they removed the stickers from the shoulders, they painted the eye visor red, just like the toy within. Same thing with Ravage and Laserbeak. And this is the first time we get Laserbeak and Ravage in a Generation 1 style packaging with Soundwave. Normally there's Buzzsaw, but Laserbeak was seen more in the cartoon. And speaking of which, he's even decoed in his cartoon look on the wings right here. Same with Ravage. He has the Decepticon logo right there. They've updated the artwork. It is still designed straight from the vintage cells, but now updated to represent the cartoon. And this is the same line that's supposed to represent the 1986 movie. It's sort of just morphing to incorporate all the G1 toys that they released, basically. And again, you can see Soundwave fully within the box. Down here we have Decepticon Communicator Soundwave, Laserbeak and Ravage, ages 8+, Hasbro, the old Hasbro logo with the boy and the girl back to back. Side panel, just like the Generation 1, but modernly updated. The back panel, we get the new version of the tech spec. It's kind of more condensed. And you can pause that, check that out. Same thing with the readout. Instead of, I think they used to have 6 categories. Now we got strength, intelligence, speed, and firepower. I think they took rank and courage off of it. Same thing down here with Laserbeak. And over here with Ravage, multilingual, of course, so they don't have to print it differently in different regions. It still has the vintage artwork on the back of the box, which is so cool. And that's pretty much all we got. Bottom of the box, same thing, just Generation 1 packaging. All right, enough playing around. Let's get Soundwave open and check them out. Very excited for this figure. This is one of the ones I hope we would get. I kind of knew we'd get it because we recently had a reissue of Soundwave anyway, so the mold was like right there. Here's Soundwave packaged in a tray without a top clamp to it. All the accessories, missiles on a tree. Very simple, very easy. I don't see any, no wait. Here are our instructions, and it is done in a modern style, which is a little bit of a bummer. Let's flip through it real quick. Shows the transformations, nothing special, nothing different. Shows the operation of the door, the placement of the weapons, and the transformation for the 2 cassettes that he comes with. Soundwave has a couple tie-downs. We're going to go for him first, and he is obviously packaged in cassette mode. Soundwave really looks good. I love what they've done with the coloring. It's really striking. If you had Soundwave, like I've had Soundwave, like the vintage and several reissue, this thing really pops. You notice it immediately. Looks very cartoony. 1 tie down each for Ravage and Laserbeak. And again, I can tell you right now, I feel it, I see it. These figures still contain the die cast where they had die cast. Oh, that is really cool right there, little blank space. Here is Laserbeak, updated sticker deco. They're very shiny, mirror-like. Oh, that is so cool. Very cartoon accurate. Next up are Soundwave missiles or laser tips or whatever. Oh, they're tied down too. I got this in the mail, again, over a month ago. I have not seen these guys in stores. I'm always toy hunting. I'm always shopping at Walmart for groceries and things. Then haven't seen these guys in stores, Blaster or Soundwave. 2 battery/weapons. If you are unboxing yours or you're going to get one of these, be careful not to scratch. I believe this is paint over the weapons. They're all tied down individually. And they didn't have to be tied down. That's like pure anti-theft. This clam is not allowing these figures to go anywhere. Yeah, Ravage weapons are black underneath. I just prefer, just cast the weapons in whatever color they're meant to be. You know, and same thing with Laserbeak. They are black plastic painted silver. I guess if you did scratch it, it'd be easy to touch up and match this silver. So this officially concludes the unboxing portion of the video. On to the recycling bin for this box. Let's get started with Soundwave himself, the micro cassette recorder. Man, this thing is so awesome. Looks very cartoon accurate, I might add, except for one thing. When you turn to the side, and it's like they goofed. On the side in the cartoon, they used like a gray plastic here and here. This is plastic, and they actually painted over it. On the cartoon, let me put an image up here. On the cartoon, you can clearly see that the sides are supposed to be gray, like on both sides, and they chose to paint it. I don't know if that will affect it in robot mode. I don't think it will. I think they should have just left out this paint app to have it completely gray and even more accurate. But that's the only kind of flaw I see so far. But moving on, we get this giant, gorgeous Decepticon logo on a cassette deck, and I already put a fingerprint on it. It looks awesome. You can see the inner workings of the actual cassette, or what would be a real cassette player on the inside. Let's go ahead and eject that. Eject button functions, pops right open. And again, you can see some detailing in there of the mechanics of the actual cassette tape player. The door is done in a yellow instead of the chromed out gold from previous releases. They painted the buttons inside here, I guess to make it look more cartoon accurate or give it the illusion that it's not raised like the previous releases. And I was recently corrected on this. The fact I said that this was done with the Sound Blaster release, and someone said it's on all Japanese releases of Soundwave, but which I don't have any of those except for reissues. So I assumed it came from a reissue, but these are still the raised buttons. It's just painted to give it a little bit more accuracy. And coming to the side, we still have, what is this, the volume over here still rolls. The on and off switch still clicks up and down. On the back of Soundwave, this little square right here is meant to clip onto your belt if you're an 80s kid. Again, if you were born in the 90s and later, you wouldn't understand. But you would clip this on your belt, plug in your headphones, and listen to your music as you walked around. And that's what this is. And it's also the battery cover. His weapons doubles as batteries. You put the little peg in a little slot. And again, you put these in here as batteries. You have like the positive post and the negative post, and how to get it in there like so. And you have weapon storage, and it doubles as battery. Very cool still to this day. We got a little bit of molding and detail back here on Soundwave. Now, before I move on, I'm going to bring in the vintage Soundwave. This is the vintage 1984 Soundwave. Check out some of the differences. These are factory stickers. They are gone. They didn't appear in the cartoon, mostly because they didn't want to draw them. And the door, I didn't mention the door. The door is actually blue plastic. And this is like a smoky, translucent, clear plastic. From the side here, again, the chrome still remains. The blue's different. The grays are different. And it is different enough to be considered cartoon accurate to my eye. Alright, now to get Soundwave transformed, the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to push down on this to separate this part right here. Then going to unfold the legs, bring them down. And pushing down on this first gives this pin clearance and not stress the plastic and make the legs weak over time. Then we're going to pop them back up, come around to the back and pop out the arms. I think I'm supposed to do the same thing too, like slide out the arms first. That way we don't stress the plastic. But naturally, I just squoze it around and bring the arms around. He is very stiff. He feels very new, which he should. Fold down the feet. We can set them down and pop up the head. Wait, I wasn't done. So to bring out the arms, hands rather. On this side as well, just slot them out. Man, this thing feels very cool. And we're going to go ahead and arm him up, swing him back around, take the weapons back out. All right, these are different. They look the same in battery mode, but they are different. This one extends and it becomes his handgun, then his hand. And this one does not extend, even though it's made of two pieces, but it sits on the shoulder, becomes a shoulder cannon, rocket launcher / whatever you want it to be, and it has some paint in there. And we're going to need one of Soundwave's missiles off the tree. I'm pretty sure it doesn't fire. If it fired, it would have been like long. So I guess this is the one that want to come loose. It would have been a long, goofy missile if it fired. Honestly, I would have preferred if they had just took out the firing mechanism with the jets, the Secret Jet, Starscream, Thundercracker, and Skywarp, because we would got a better looking missile accessory like this. And we're going to put it in here. And let's check and see. Yep, there's a spring for the firing mechanism right here, but there's not a spring to hold or release the missile from Soundwave's gun. So it sits in there, but it looks better than having some gigantic goofy missile. Sits in his hand just fine. And wow, does he look cartoon spot on. He looks a lot better than I thought he would. They did an amazing job with this figure. And let's bring him closer, take a look at his face. Check out what they've done here. Now, this is not the first time that they've done something similar to this. There is a reissue of Sound Blast, I believe it was. I once owned it, where they took the face and kind of tried to make it look cartoon accurate by painting the silver all the way up to the visor. But you can still see the mold of the lower mouthpiece, whatever you want to call it, the face plate. Sort of like Optimus Prime, but his sits very low, but they try to paint it up to make it look more accurate. And I do like it. I wish they had remolded it. That would have been awesome, but I do like what they did here with the red visor on the face. They painted the sides of the head as well. Now, it was probably easier just to use silver, but I think they should have tried to paint it the same color as the gray. On the cartoon, it was matching the rest of his body, and it wasn't like a separate silver. But I think they went with this because they've done it before in the past, like I mentioned. It looks good. They put paint on the missiles inside here. They put a stripe of paint on top of the launcher. They painted on striping on the arms, both arms. There's paint on this launcher here. We have painted in vents on the kneecaps, or the bottom of the kneecaps. We have painted in silver on the kneecaps. And the die casts on the feet are painted a light gray. Everything else is pretty much molded in plastic. And I really think he looks good. All right, let's put Soundwave against the cartoon model. Take a look. On this cartoon model that I pull here, Soundwave is a darker blue, and he was depicted a little bit darker than this cartoon version of Soundwave, but I think they went with a lighter blue, so he stood out to be more different than from the vintage version. But in the cartoon, they kind of kept it close to the vintage version with the color most times. I mean, it fluctuated, but pretty much you got the same color as the original toy. So I understand what they did with that. All right, the next comparison I'm going to bring in the previous Walmart reissue of Soundwave using the Generation 1 body mold. I believe this was from 2018, somewhere right around there. And the biggest difference will be, to me, pops out, is the blue. And the blue in the door, it helps bring all this to life. Then we have the ghost gray on the arms, or the lighter gray, which helps it stand out a lot more than the previous release of Soundwave. And then the face and the mouth plate, or the face being painted all the way up to the visor, makes all the difference in the world. And then swinging around to the side, you can see where the silver wraps around to the side, and the Generation 1 version does not wrap around. Generation 1 reissue anyway. Then we have the stickers on the shoulder, which are gone now. And then the Decepticon logo on the chest this is a huge difference. Not just because it's bigger, but because like you can see through it or around it. It doesn't have the silver backing like this. This makes a huge difference. This actually looks pretty good. Wish they had done that back in the 80s. Of course, the silver at the waist as opposed to unpainted plastic. Stickers on the kneecaps. Down here, it kind of looks the same right here. These feet, I don't even know if that's paint, but it's like, it looks like raw metal. Might be a light coat of paint on there. And then this has the gray paint. Pretty much nothing going on the back of these figures. I guess these one stickers wrap around. But those are the differences in the deco from your previous Generation 1 Soundwave release to the now more cartoon accurate version. Okay, for what it's worth, Generation 1 and all, let's do articulation on Soundwave. The head will 360. It is nice and stiff. It is everything a new toy should be. He can look up because of the transformation. There is going to be no down. His arms will give a full 360 at the shoulder. Almost feels like it's ratcheting. Elbow bend this far. The hand does nothing but retract and extend. He has a bit of molded in fingers, not much, but it's plenty for the 80s. Nothing at the waist, but we do get the ejecting gimmick right here. So this is a little something. It's not articulation, but I guess it fits in there somewhere. The legs can come forward because of transformation. At the waist, right here, we can get this much out of it. They can turn from side to side. Not going to get anything to the back. The knee can come forward. Again, that's transformation, and that's a little bit weird. And the feet can fold up in transformation again, but it might help if you were trying to get this guy to run. I don't know, maybe. I don't know. But that is there, and that is all for Soundwave's articulation. The shoulder cannon, it is removable. It just pegs in, so you can take it out of the way. You put it on here, and you can turn it. He can kill people over there. He can kill people over there, or whatnot. But that is all there is for Soundwave articulation. I mean, he's Generation 1. He was just great that he transformed, and everything else is just a bonus. And too bad, like, his weapons don't fire. That would have been cool, but they're supposed to fire. But safety regulations now in the United States, even though some other toys still fire. I don't get what's the hang up on the Transformers, but it is not in there. All right, let's get to Soundwave minions. And first up is Laserbeak. Now, Laserbeak normally isn't packaged with Soundwave when it comes to the vintage Generation 1 toy, but in this case he is, because Laserbeak was featured very heavily on the cartoon. Still hope we get a buzzsaw for this set, but Laserbeak was the main one featured in the cartoon because the original cartoon was a vehicle or a commercial for the toys, and Soundwave was heavily featured, so they did figure why show that cassette, because most kids are going to run against Soundwave. So they were pushing a 2-pack where he was packaged with Rumble, Cartoon Frenzy, the red one, and that's why we saw Laserbeak a little bit more. And every now and then the studio would call those guys. They would actually call the animators of the cartoon, the creators of the cartoon, and say, hey, we haven't seen a character in a while. And then we would see that character. And we would all notice like that a certain character just came out of the blue, like Gears or something. But anyway, here's this cassette mode. This is the actual cassette side of the tape, and this is the robotic side. This is supposed to look cartoon accurate. Let's get the cartoon image out here and take a look. He looks pretty good. Under the lights, my cassette looks a little bit more pink than it does red, but I think it's just my lights. But this is how it compares to the cartoon. Right, obviously, the big buzz here is supposed to be the cartoon look. We put him next to the cartoon model. He looks a lot like the cartoon. But let's check out the difference in the Generation 1 tape. This was meant to look more like a micro cassette from real life. You can see that the tape inside was supposed to be behind the little window. The reels right here, we still have the reels. The same molded in detail remains, but we just get a little bit more accurate sticker over here. But it's all broke up from the transformation. Let's get this guy transformed. To get him transformed, we want to, first we got to switch to the robotic side. We're going to extend the wings a little bit. Now this frees up the legs, or the tail fins behind the legs. We bring these down like this, just like that, and continue to extend the wings to your preference or your liking. Then slot the head out. Boom, and here is our Laserbeak. And now we add the weapons. Here are the weapons. They are a black plastic painted silver, which I don't like. They could have just used the same plastic from Soundwave's arm parts and just cast it in that to give it that cartoon look. I think that would have been a little bit better. Comes with 2 weapons, and they are cut for safety reasons, and I still don't get that. That little bit of nub isn't choking anybody, but I'll bring out the other one in a minute. What do you guys think? I think it looks pretty good. And you can see the molding in his face a lot better than what I'm used to. I wonder if this is a whole new mold, or this is the same mold recreated again and used. But it's showing no signs of degradation at all. See the detailing in his legs. See his 2 front claws right here. His back claw and the hinge that pincers them together. Some little mechanical pistons right there in his legs. A little bit more than detail in his cannons, and I guess this is his propulsion system. Allow him to fly around. Has the painted eye in yellow. But I don't think they should have painted the beak on the cartoon. I think the beak is painted. Speaking of cartoon, let's get the cartoon model out here and take a look. See how Laserbeak sizes up. And yeah, you can see that the beak is painted, but I guess, you know, they only going so far with this line. I think we're doing good to get these stickers. I do believe Repro Labels, now Toy Hacks, was one of the first companies to sell a set of stickers to match the cartoon for your Generation 1 Laserbeak and Buzzsaw. And let's check out his articulation in this mode. We pulled out the head. It does this. Sits back like that when he's sitting like on the stoop or whatever, observing. Autobots, you could kind of tuck the wings in like that, and he can look up and down. What are those guys doing down there? Here, and then I demonstrated the wings in the different positions. You can bring them back a little bit. You can put them back here, sort of in the dive position, out just a little bit, and extend it fully. Let's see how far forward. They come this far forward. It's like he's defending, tucking in for a defensive posture. And as far as the legs, they just folded down the way I folded them down as part of the transformation. Now, real quick, let's bring out the Generation 1 Laserbeak. I mean, this one has the golden eye, chrome weapons, and of course the mechanical stickers. Those depict circuitry on our Laserbeak. And as far as the safety missiles, this is how long the missiles were initially, and then they just cut them back to these little nubs. And I guess it's not so terrible. But yeah, I mean, what's the difference? Like, is somebody really gonna get choked up on this little piece right here, or stick it in their eye? Really, I'm not buying. Very good. And the cassette I was looking forward to most is Ravage. Here he is. Here is the very blank cassette side, but it fits. It's perfect. It's nice and smooth. We see Ravage's body complete for like the first time ever. Has a little space for where the tape reels would be inside. The legs are done in gray. Of course, you can see his head folded up right there. And this is supposed to be the mechanical side, but it's basically the same. Got the gray legs, and I just love the Decepticon logo right there. That is perfect. Even though he's a lot more simplistic than Laserbeak, I think they really nailed this as far as the cartoon look, which wasn't hard because they didn't put a lot of effort in there. Here is a straight up Generation 1 Ravage. You can see the 60 minutes right there, side A, Japan down there, the tape reels inside. He has a lot of paint on him, and you can see the differences in the black. They went with a little charcoal gray. I wish they went a little bit grayer, but side by side, you can really see what they did here. All right, now to get Ravage transformed, very simple. Pull his tail out of his mouth, bam, flip his head down and around, pull his legs down. Ravage was always so cool. Him and Laserbeak just didn't fail, you know, especially Laserbeak. They were on point on the cartoon. Get his legs down, and I know I said it before, I'll say it again, because people always ask me whenever I do a reissue, or they just tell me they took out all the die casts. No, they didn't. The die casts were in the pins and in the legs right here, and they chose to paint him a lighter gray, and he looks very slick. I'm loving that right there. Here are Ravage's weapons. The little scope part goes up right here. Each side, and again, they're done in a black plastic painted silver. And they could have saved this silver paint. I'm telling you, it would have looked a lot better in Soundwave's plastic gray. I think so. All right, and here is Ravage. He is one of the most articulated Generation 1 Decepticons, believe it or not. I mean, it's all in his legs, but as far as points of articulation, it really counts. We'll get to that in a second. Let's take a look at Ravage's head. Has a little vent next to his ear, the painted red eye. Molded in mouth is broken up for where the tail goes in. Same thing on this side. And not a whole lot to look at, but I mean, he looks good. You can check out his little paws right there. A little molded in detail on those. But not now for Ravage's articulation and his transformation, but it's still that he can look down that much, which is a great deal. And if he's tracking someone or looking, that's perfect. He can look up this far, see Autobots coming. He can go back that far, but that's transformation. His tail can move up and down, which is cool. And his legs, he has like the shoulder hinge up here, the elbow bend right there, and the paw bend right there. And it's on all four legs, granting Ravage a ton of articulation. All right, now for Generation 1 Ravage. And you can see the Decepticon logo right there. You can see the difference in the die-cast leg. And the eye is long since faded off right here. You kind of see it right there from that angle. And this one's a little bit better. But here, all right, totally forgot to put my Ravage next to the cartoon model here. Now, the mouth doesn't open on this guy. It just has the hole right there. But, I mean, there's only so much you can do. And here's a pic from the cartoon. It's time to give our set the size up and the rundown. Okay, here are the other three Decepticons I have in this line so far. Starscream, Thundercracker, and Skywarp. I passed on the two Insecticons. I might wind up regretting it, but not right now. Here are the only two Autobots released so far, Hot Rod and Hound. Stepping outside of the world of Transformers, here's DC McFarlane Batman. I'm not sure which one. He has a ton of them. And representing Marvel Legends, Spider-Man from Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends 3-pack. My apologies, I let this review run on far too long. I got a couple more things I just wanted to add. I think I did Laserbeak when I add Ravage to the cassette door. You guys can check it out. Get it in there and close it. See how well it ejects with Ravage in there. Snaps right back out. Right back in. And one more again, Laserbeak. See how he looks in there. Door closed. Laserbeak, he obviously looks the best. That's it right there, straight out of the cartoon. And the weapon, even though it doesn't launch, I try to pull it out. Like, you can't just pull it out. You'll strip it or damage it. You have to hit the release button, even though it doesn't launch, to remove the laser gun tip or missile, whatever you want to call it in your cannon. All right, to kick off my final thoughts, I just want to bring out this reissue of Soundwave. This was once my favorite reissue of the Generation 1 Soundwave body mode. It had a slight tweak to it. This one held 2 cassettes, or still holds 2 cassettes in the chest, and I thought that was so cool. As a kid, I always wanted a Soundwave to hold more tapes. I think we all did. And just eject endless tapes from microscopic space. But this one is now my favorite reissue of the Soundwave mode. I love the look of it, love the color. At one point, I kind of hoped they would do this Soundwave in this mode so we get the 2 tapes, because on the cartoon, he just had like endless tapes or whatever. But I mean, I don't regret it. I mean, it looks very good. I like how it came out. All right, just let me critique Soundwave himself. From what I can tell, he suffers from no mold degradation. They've reissued this guy a few times. They changed the chest door, but he feels like a brand new Soundwave, like from my childhood. I've gotten reissues before, not just Soundwave, but other Transformers that kind of felt played with or lower quality or had like some mold flashing in places. Doesn't feel KO-ish at all. The joints are tight. If I had to nitpick something about Soundwave, the cassette mode where they painted the legs and they should have just let the raw plastic wrap around. That's a little nitpick for it to be more cartoon accurate. And the fact that the weapons don't fire. And I know that we've been dealing with the safety thing for reissues for 20 years. So that's there. That's my little nitpick about Soundwave. As far as the cassettes, I think I like Ravage a little bit more than Laserbeak, but they both look awesome. Both look cool. Even though these are stripped down reissues where they took the chrome and the paint, but it works. It's genuinely cartoon accurate Generation 1 Transformers. It truly works. It doesn't feel just like a cheaper version or way of making the same toys all over again, even though, you know, it's kind of what they're doing. But they pull it off. I think Soundwave and his minions are the best Generation 1 cartoon accurate out of all the releases so far. I don't have the Decepticons, but I've seen them, and I think this Soundwave really pulls it off. If you feel like I've got a few Soundwave reissues, how different is this one really? It really is. This is now my favorite Soundwave out of all the reissues. I'm always going to go with the vintage Generation 1 1984 with the sticker on the door. But this is my number 2, and I have a few Soundwaves in my collection. That's all I have for you guys. Don't forget to hit that like button. It helps out the channel. And if you haven't subscribed, think about subscribing. And with that, I want to thank you all for watching another episode of George Reviews. The reviews where every toy has a story.